drink, settle in. We got about 5 minutes until we start reading the game. If you're watching this in post, feel free to skip ahead. It's a timer on the screen that tells you when we're going to start reading. I'm going to be a little quiet for these next 4 minutes because I got a lot to set up in the background, but stay tuned. Hello everyone. Awesome, I'm glad you can hear me. Hello, Mango Cheesecake, Jed and Eric. Welcome back to the stream. I'm scrambling just a little bit behind the scenes, so did not have too much time to set up the stream, unfortunately. So. How much time I got? Not much, I assume. A minute 50, we can do this. Alright, we're in the clear. 30 seconds to spare. How exciting. Wonderful. Cool. Nice. Everything else looking good on my end? I think so. Oh, let me post on Blue Sky that we're starting. Great. Okay, just a little bit of water and we'll get in there. Okay. Hello everyone, and welcome back to another wonderful stream of 99 More, the weekly live stream where we cover 99 other tabletop RPGs. Today, I'm very excited to introduce a fantastic game. For the sheer premise of this is our 80th game covered on this stream. Again, we're aiming to cover 99, so we're officially at the 80%-ish mark. And we only have 19 more games to go, which means realistically we can finish this whole series by the end of the year, right? This has been a long time coming. This has been a 3-year long project. We started at the top of 2023. We did 40 games in our first year, 30 games in our second year, and we're wrapping up the last 30 games, 20-ish, who knows, actually somewhere in the ballpark of 35, and we're wrapping up the entire series hopefully by November, which would be really exciting. Today we're covering a game called Revolt. This game is Revolt by Jason Price. This is the 80th game, and it's so exciting because this whole month we're going to be talking about games that have won recent awards. I'll bounce over to the next stream just to show you guys what I'm talking about. This is the IDGN Indie Game Developer Network Groundbreaker Awards of 2024. And all throughout this month, which is only going to be 3 weeks because I'm going to take the last week off to celebrate my birthday. But this whole month we're going to be covering games that have won the Indie Groundbreaker Awards. Now, we've already covered Triangle Agency earlier last year, I believe, because we were so excited about its arrival in 2024. But we are today covering the winner of Best Rules, which is Revolt. Next week is going to be Best Art by May You Fish in Interesting Times. And then the week after that is going to be a game that's received a lot of hype, Last Train to Bremen, which is Most Innovative. To be totally honest and totally candid, I have not read this game yet. In fact, I downloaded it 6 minutes ago. I'm simply going off of the premise that this game is highly acclaimed. I'm very excited because I have not heard about this game before the Groundbreaker Awards. So there's an entire subset of tabletop RPGs entirely outside of my purview, outside my vision, and I'm really excited to see what exactly I'm missing out on, which is super duper cool. Best Rules is a big deal. That's a big thing. It's in an ecosystem where a lot of games are kind of very much inspired by others, very much kind of centralized into certain systems, certain rule sets. I'm really excited to see what this one is all about. It does read as a fantasy tabletop role-playing game, so it will be very much in our wheelhouse of games we're very comfortable running. I just want to see how it plays out, so that's super cool. I just gotta welcome everybody in stream. Hey Wink, nice to see you again. Triple Person, thank you for arriving on time this time. Thank you. I'm happy you could be here. Galapot, are you actually ending at 99? I am in fact ending at 99. Once I finally finish all 99 live streams, I will refocus and collect what I have learned over all these different streams and try to make more edited content like I used to. The advent of these live streams were an earnest attempt or an earnest effort in learning a whole bunch of new games, and I have, which is wonderful. But also just slowly building up my experience in other systems, slowly understanding what kind of games I like, what kind of games I enjoy. And also it just came in a period of my life where I needed to step away from the grind of edited content, which takes so much time out of your system, just to focus on other goals and other aspirations. Other aspirations. Obviously, just a live stream is certainly something, but I run a lot of games in different systems now for my friends. I also have the Your Rivers Are Wrong podcast, which I run with my friend Merla, which is fantastic. So I've been able to accomplish a lot in these last 3 years while reducing my editing effort, and hopefully when this series concludes, I'll get back to where I started. I've already started posting some new shorts. If you guys saw me on TikTok or on YouTube Shorts, of course, short form content seems to be something that accommodates my time schedule, and I'm really looking forward to releasing more of that. I'm reading Triple Person says 99 more live plays. If live plays didn't take 3 hours, I would. Live plays are a lot, and they're not always entertaining, especially without a face cam. I'm trying to stay face anonymous on the internet for as long as I can. That said, it's super boring to watch a bunch of PNGs play any sort of tabletop RPGs, but it would be nice to eventually join some actual plays, maybe not hosted by me, but just as a player, as a participant. I'd be really open to that. But with that said, this is not about me. This is about the game Revolt. So let's jump into the tabletop RPG and learn what exactly earned it the right to the title of Best Rules of 2024. I'm really excited to find out. Okay. So this game, I'm going to look at bookmarks. Looks like it's around 50 to 65 pages. Let me just check to the end. 72. I lied. There's 72 pages to this. Fantastically full book. The only name I recognize a couple of these games. Fantastic. Look at this. Obviously, Jason Price is the author of this game. I got to reach out to and got permission to stream a bit of this game. I recognize Will Jobst as someone who's very famous in the tabletop RPG editing sphere. I think he's the one behind This Discord Has Ghosts in It, which is a fantastic game. The Quiet Year is lauded for many years now as just a fantastic tabletop RPG. I believe it's a solo journaling one. I'm not positive. The Slow Knife by Jack Harrison. Jack Harrison also wrote Koroko, The Magical Year. Oh my gosh. I've been trying to reach out to Jack Harrison for like months, if not over a year. I'd reached out for Koroko, and I've also reached out for The Slow Knife as games that I could cover potentially. Never got a response. So this is my white whale, truly. People I want to get in touch with. And I haven't heard of Full of Magic or Beak, Feather, and Bone, but those are pretty cool. Those sound pretty cool as well. Let's get into it. Welcome to Lektok. Lektok, a fantasy realm where a period of peace has been shattered by a bloody civil war known as the War of the Lily. This recent conflict has claimed the life of Renata, the Queen Bee, and allowed Mortimus, the Toad King, to claim the throne his family has long coveted. The monarch is entitled to set a law that all citizens must follow. This is known as their decree, but ever since Renata's untimely demise, the citizens have been struggling under Mortimus's harsh rule, and now there are rumors of unrest. In Revolt, each player takes on the role of a unique faction. Ooh, a faction? You're playing a faction per player? That's kind of neat. A group of like-minded citizens who share skills, resources, social standing, or motivation. These uniting factors are known as their creed. Factions must attempt to gather support from other citizens as the revolt builds up through 4 stages. To gain support, factions must travel across the realm and campaign at sites, the towns, buildings, landmarks, and environments where citizens live and work. Alright, I didn't pin this game for fantasy political intrigue where you play as a community rather than a person. But that's a twist that I like. Let's find out how to play this game. During the game, players draw cards and answer questions about sites, describing citizens they encounter and how their faction wins, support, or suffers setbacks. When the revolt reaches its climactic conclusion, the faction leader with the most support takes the throne and becomes monarch. Ooh, interesting. The winner announces their new decree while the other players discover the fate of their faction. But Lektok will never be the same again, and no decree satisfies every citizen. Use special legacy rules to continue your story and challenge a new monarchy in your next game. Interesting. So this is a game where first of all, one player plays as multiple people, as a faction, a like-minded conglomerate. And it seems to be a competitive game where factions are opposing each other rather than working together. I guess they're all working together to overthrow the current monarch, but only one of them will ascend to the throne. So it's kind of like like I said, political intrigue and drama, and aiming for backstabbing, I'm assuming, might be an option in this game. That does warrant really interesting rules. maybe this is a precursor to why this game has won best rules. I don't think I've ever seen a tabletop RPG like this. Okay, let's learn. Ways to play. Standard mode. A one-off game that should last a session or two, where you'll choose which factions will rise up and compete to overthrow Mortimus the Toad King and a croaking monarchy. Legacy mode, where the factions you can represent in the monarchy you bring down will both change every game, creating a continuous linked story unique to your group, and continue playing as many sessions as you like. And solo mode, a solo journaling game where you'll tell the story of Ellis, the dragonfly knight errant, who has returned home from a distant quest, discovering that their beloved realm is in turmoil and in need of a hero. Now this third one sounds entirely separate from everything we've read so far. The solo mode seems to be focusing in on a singular person in this world, in this changed world, and tries to bring about change by their own merit singularly. That sounds entirely different. I'm really curious how they integrate that into the rules. Ooh, this art, very, very cool. Who's the art director behind this? Artwork, Juan Carlos Ochoa. Fantastic. Thank you. Oh, maybe this one too? Layout and graphic design, V. Hendro. I do like how this credit section has their websites available as well. That's really neat. Okay, things you'll need. Boxed edition of Revolt has everything you need, including cloth map of the realm of Lektok, campaign deck. Oh, I did so the what was I gonna say? The itch listing, I believe, has most of these available to you. Let me see if I can find it. Yeah, so let me show you. If you buy this game, you get the rule book, the cards, low-ink cards if you want to print it, audio files. This is interesting. I guess this is just a narrated intro and outro to the game. This is the map collection, and this is a text saying how to play Revolt online, which is a really cool idea. I'm surprised more games don't have something like this available. Very neat. Okay. Cloth map, campaign deck, 8 double-sided faction monarch cards, 8 double-sided Kree cards, 4 epilogue cards, 5 different colored meeples. 1 double-sided faction creed card for solo mode, and 1 X card, of course. If you're playing in person with only this book, gather a printed copy of the map, printed copies of the cards, standard deck of playing cards, different colored tokens or meeples, optionally note cards, journal, and all the digital resources can be found at the itch.io website. Cool. This game is cool in that it accommodates both in-person, well, not both, but accommodates in-person and online play. These rules are for, if you have the box edition of Revolt, this is for which now I'm learning there's a box edition of Revolt. This is the only this book version in person, and there's also rules for playing online available on itch.io, which is really nice. Again, I continue to belabor, and even though there's no like game designers who need to hear this, they all know it, but the success of a game depends on its rate of adoption, like how many people are actually playing it, and how easy is it to start playing. I think once you get past that massive hurdle, you're good to go, you know? Okay, let's find out what's next. Before you play, we're familiar with the X card, of course. This is for players who want the option to be able to nix a scenario or situation where they're personally uncomfortable with, which is very useful to have. Okay, let's see what this is. Revolt is first and foremost a storytelling game. Although each player represents a competing faction, it's not intended to be competitive. It's best to approach the game with the shared goal of telling a collaborative story. Enjoy unexpected comebacks and its inevitable bad luck. Consider how each faction's successes or failures play into how the citizens view them, or why it's happening at that site or during a particular stage of the revolt. Your story may go in many directions, but avoid killing named characters such as faction leaders or the monarch, especially if you're playing in legacy mode. Offer story suggestions if someone falters, but try to ensure each player is given space and encouragement during their turn. Revolt typically takes 3 to 4 hours for a single session, but your game may be shorter or longer. If you want to break it up into several, there are 4 clearly defined stages to the game. Let's look into this. That should provide a good opportunity for your missions. Okay. Rules glossary. Okay, we're gonna learn a couple things. This might be a little too soon. I was really looking forward to kind of learning the rules first, but this is probably important, so it's a good reference point. Let me check the bookmarks. Okay, so this is just so we have someone to refer to. Let's not read it here. Let's just kind of read setting up the game, because we can always refer back to this if we need to. Okay, setting up the game. 7 steps. Place the realm map. Ooh, this realm map is so nice. Wow, look at that. Place the map in the middle of your play space. This map represents Lektok, the troubled fantasy realm where every game of Revolt takes place. Notice the towns, buildings, landmarks, and environments on the map. These are called sites, where citizens live and works. Visit sites to campaign for support, creating stories about who you encounter and the site's purpose or history. Nice. Okay, so putting on the map is straightforward. Set up the campaign deck. Wow, these cards look cool too. Campaign deck represents the 4 stages of Revolt. Okay, this is what we were curious about before. During our game, the cards in the deck contain questions and prompts themed at each stage of Revolt. Draw a card when you campaign at a site. Struggles, rumors, preparations, Revolt. Interesting. Okay, so this says that you can use... Something's happening outside. I think we can ignore it. Separate the campaign deck into 4 separate stages. Okay, so basically if you don't have these printed cards, you can always just use a 52 card deck and refer to the suits to draw the cards and then check the prompts, I'm assuming on a table listed elsewhere. Set aside the monarchy, decree, and epilogue cards and remove the 4 opening cards from each stage deck. Opening cards contain a question that all players answer together. Stellar. Place the opening cards back on top of their respective decks face down, so they're always drawn first at the start of each stage. Use the opening prompts in this book if you're using a standard deck of cards. This is really cool about some card games where they incorporate the cards into learning about the game. I remember that the game For the Queen has a bunch of introductory rules written on the deck of cards, so you don't actually need the rule book to play it. The cards that you place on top of the deck kind of explain the entire rules of the game, and then once the players know, they can set those cards aside and play normally. So this is employing the same method that, like, as long as you make sure the opening cards are on the top of each deck, it's guaranteed that your players will read each card before they continue onwards, which is nice. Place the monarchy. Now it's time to set down the monarchy and decree cards. The croaking monarchy and the decree of taxation. Place the cards above the map from left to right in the following order: struggles deck, rumors deck, the croaking monarchy, degree of taxation, preparations, and then revolt. Right, and then in legacy mode, feel free to change the decree of taxation. Can I read this if I zoom in far enough? What law did the croaking monarchy put into place. King Mortimus says, I'm finally back where I belong in my most natural role. All citizens must provide me with new tributes, gifts, and tolls? And then answer together, what do citizens miss most about the previous monarchy? How are all those forced to surrender half of their assets? I can't read this. It's a little too blurry for me. How are all... Oh, look. Weirdly enough, if I look at OBS, I can read a little better. How are all sites forced to surrender half of their assets? Cool. Okay. That's enough of that. Locate the throne. Look at the map together and agree on a site to act as the location of the throne. Choose a token to represent the monarchy and place it over the chosen site. During the game, no one may campaign at the throne. It's a stronghold well protected by the loyal Dragonfly Knights. Read the prologue. Alright, begin the game by reading out this prologue to set the scene. And there is an audio file on itch that you can use to read this out for people, which is fantastic. Did we read this? Let's just read it again. Our story takes place in the fantasy realm of Lektok. Many citizens are still mourning Renata the Bee Queen, killed during the recent War of the Lily. Mortimus the Toad King sits victorious upon the throne, protected by a powerful order of Dragonfly Knights who have sworn loyalty to the crown. Mortimus believes Lektok is his family's birthright and has announced a harsh decree, but ambitious faction leaders are secretly gathering support to overthrow the monarchy. Great. Assign player factions. Find the 7 remaining faction and creed cards and place all of the faction cards above the monarchy near the map. Each player now chooses or is randomly assigned a faction to represent during the game. The remaining factions are not campaigning for the throne this time, but may be used to inspire the citizens they encounter at sites. Give each player their faction's corresponding creed card and the color token that will represent their leader as they move around the map. Each player places their faction and creed cards in front of them so they can easily read them during play and so everyone knows who they represent. Keep spare faction cards above the monarchy to help inspire the story later. 22 for an example. These are the 7 different factions. The Restless Soldiery, the Gilding Guild, the Droning Clergy, the Fanged Gentry, the Industrious Union, the Leaping Collective, the Blighted Swarm. These all seem like bugs and monarchs, if I'm correct. This is a cockroach or beetle. This is a snail. This is a fly. This is a spider, for sure. Ant. Grasshopper, I think. This looks a lot like a locust, I'm guessing because of swarm. Interesting. Yeah, kind of makes sense that a frog overthrew them. Alright, introduce the monarchy and factions. With the monarchy placed and the factions assigned, it's time to introduce them. Read the monarchy card and show everyone the monarch's illustration, then read out the decree and answer both questions as a group. Then each player reads their faction and creed cards and shows everyone their leader's illustration. Ask each player one question depending on whether they choose or were randomly assigned a faction. If chosen, why did you choose to play this faction? If randomly assigned, what does this creed mean to you in the context of this game? Finally, each player chooses a unique starting site and places their faction token over it on the map. This is where their faction will begin the campaign. Players may choose any site except the one that contains the throne. Although each player's token represents their faction leader, they have control over their whole faction during the game and may describe group actions. So this is all setting up the board. This game is intended for 1 to 4 players, I believe. I haven't heard mention of a game master yet, so I'm curious if there will be one. It says 3-player, so this says 3-player game setup. It doesn't look like there is a game master. It kind of looks like there's just 3 different factions and you play against each other. I guess there isn't a need for a game master if like you guys are all rivals, right? You just kind of adjudicate amongst yourselves. What's up, Thumper? I missed so much. You didn't miss much. You missed like 10-15 minutes. Triple Person says, hi Thumper, we are revolting against a wind treaty. This is not a dictatorship. This is a show. I'm the entertainment, you're the audience. I'm not a ruler. I'm not a monarch. I would never do anything that tells you guys what to do. So Thumper, if anything, what you missed is basically saying that this game is about political intrigue. A frog king has taken over the world of Lektok, and you, as one faction of 7 bug adjacent factions, are doing your best to overthrow this frog monarch, and you do that by campaigning at certain sites, and I'm assuming addressing their problems. But we'll see what this looks like. We're about to get into the player section. Okay, so how do you actually play? Judd says I'm down to revolt. What are we revolting against? What do you not like? what is? Are you not entertained? Okay. So how do you actually play? Again, we've determined that there is no game master. There's just you playing as a full faction. We know that there's 4 steps to play, which we learned up there, which are, again, struggles, rumors, preparations, and revolt. Let's see what a player turn actually looks like. Okay. Any player may volunteer to take the first turn. There's no advantage. Play moves clockwise around the table. If you're struggling for a volunteer, the player who is last bitten or stung by an insect will go first. A player's turn involves 2 steps. Choose a site to travel to and campaign for support. Give you a second. Okay, yeah. Choose a site to travel to and campaign for support, or draw a card from the current stage of the campaign deck and answer the questions. On your turn, move your token to a new site on the map. You may choose any site you could reasonably travel to from the current location, but you must campaign at a new site each turn. You may return to sites you've already been to before, or sites that another player has already visited. Why am I getting, like, Risk? Is that the game I'm thinking of? Risk board game vibes? It seems like your goal is to kind of conquer the map in your political campaigning. But let's see. Choose unusual sites to add unexpected elements to your group's story as the revolt progresses, or visit past sites to build upon its citizens or history. Okay, step 2 is draw a card and answer the questions. Once you've moved to a new site, draw a card from the current stage deck. Reveal the card and answer the questions. Keep all of your revealed cards, as they'll be totaled up at the end of the game. The first card drawn at the start of each stage is the opening card, which should be answered as a group. Got it. Cards in the campaign deck. Each card includes the following sections. A support value. This number represents how numerous or influential the citizens at the site are. The higher number, the more influence they have. Some cards negatively impact your support. A prompt. This describes and summarizes how the current stage of the revolt is affecting citizens at the site and poses 2 questions. Before answering each question, consider the map, your faction, the site, and citizens. A short rhyming verse. Flavor text to spark your creativity and to provide an example of things the citizens or monarch might be saying about events at the site. Okay, let's look at this. So this card on the right is support value 5. The journey, and it says rumors say citizens at the site should prepare to evacuate. Why do citizens here feel they need to travel to a distant site for safety in case revolt breaks out? Where are they going, and how do you enable their passage along the most difficult part of the route? Okay, so this seems to be a community actively trying to leave. A revolt will leave us vulnerable, so if there's signs of trouble, we'll head out west before they turn our cattle into rubble. Oh, it all rhymes. Let me try that again. A revolt will leave us vulnerable, so if there's signs of trouble, we'll head out west before they turn our castle into rubble. Nice. Did I skip one? Nope. Moving to the next stage. Okay, so we've been acquainted with the community. We have been acquainted with their problem. Not all cards will be revealed during the game. The number of turns each player, the number of turns in each stage depends on the number of players. 2 players, each player takes 4 turns. 3, each player takes 3, and 4, each player takes 2. So the ballpark estimate is in a session you're tackling about 8 settlements, right? 3 players, 3 turns is 9 settlements, but 2, 4, and 4, 2 is 8 settlements. Once players have drawn and revealed enough cards from one stage of the campaign deck, discard the remaining cards and move to the next stage. Reveal the opening card from the top of the next stage and enter it together. Right. Okay. Ending the game. The game ends once every player has drawn and revealed enough cards during the 4th stage of the campaign deck. Revolt. Let me try that one more time. The game ends once every player has drawn and revealed enough cards during the 4th stage of the campaign deck. Revolt. Right. The monarchy is overthrown and the citizens crown the faction leader who has gathered the most support. There are 2 steps to end the game. Add up total support to determine the winner, crown the winner, and determine the fate of the other factions. Add up support. Using the support value of the card revealed during the game, calculate each player's total support. Work out 1st to 4th place, depending on how many players you have, and hand out the relevant epilogue cards to each player. If you're using a standard deck of cards, use epilogue prompts from the book. If it's a tie, the player with the least cards worth 0 or less support, base cards in the standard deck, counts as having the highest total. If it's a tie, shuffle one of the 4 decks and draw for the highest card. If it's still a tie, shuffle one of the 4 decks and draw for the highest card. Right. Okay? Crown the winner. The winning player reads their epilogue first. They'll be prompted to flip over their faction card to introduce a new monarchy and read out their decree. Remove the old monarchy from above the map and replace it with the new monarchy. So, monarchy. Is that an American way to print? Because we pretend like this A is an E, right? Monarchy. We don't say monarchy. Or maybe that's just, maybe we're supposed to, and it's just like, we talk too fast. Monarchy. So everyone can see who now sits upon the throne. The remaining players should read out their epilogues in any order. They'll reveal their that's a tongue twister. They'll reveal their faction's fate. And answer 2 questions about what has happened to them. Cool. Okay, so these are potential epilogue cards. So this is like the winner. This is the threat. This is the consolation. This is defeated. And this is what happens when you win. Great. And this is a solo tools. Okay, so the rules of this game seem pretty short. I think that's the whole game, right? Because you can see like over here, there's like different cards. I'm not supposed to read past a certain page, I believe. I'm gonna double check my email. Yeah, don't show in the author Jason Price told me I'd recommend not showing anything from page 51 of the rulebook onwards. These pages contain all the unique prompt questions for people who only own the book are using a standard deck of cards. Right. There are examples of these cards scattered throughout the rest of the rulebook, so it's fun to show these examples. Great, right. So we're going to be using basically the ones available to us to set examples for this. But neat, cool. So how did the heck... Let me see. Maybe in game materials? I'm not too eager to read the solo mode rules yet. I'm trying to understand the group rules. Is this page is still okay for me to check out? Game materials, factions and creed. Okay, so these are the cool ones. So these are the people you'll be playing as. Adventure. So the Restless Soldiery is this one. This is the Croaking Exiles. This is I'm assuming you can only play as this when you after you dethrone the Frog Monarch, right? It says here Mortimus the Toad King. So this isn't one of the 7 choices. This is only available in legacy mode, so to speak. You're right, Guild and Guild are snails. The Droning Clergy. This is definitely flies for sure. Godfrey the Radical Preacher. Fanged Gentry are the spiders for sure. Bloodsucking Baroness. Millicent. These are the ants for sure. The Industrious Union. Thyra the Master Builder. How cool. The Leaping Collective. These are grasshoppers. Astrida the Gifted Troubadour. I like how they give us an example of who you could be playing as. That's kind of neat. The Blighted Swarm. These are also flies, right? Plague. The plague we carry is a wicked curse, but this new decree has turned out to be worse. The monarchy should represent the largest group of people. The crown could do a lot of good if treated us as equals. So win by majority is basically their whole concept. It's pretty funny. Oh, and these are the decrees. These are what they put forward. So for example, the Restless Monarchy is the degree of provocation. It's time to face a rising threat that cannot be ignored. All citizens must now contribute as we prepare for war. Oh, there's so many rhymes in this game. Oh, this is a rhyme. I totally missed that these are rhymes. The monarchy should represent the largest group of people. The crown could do a lot of good if it treated us as equals. I see. Lots and lots. I want to see this. What's the... Wow, look at this glow up. Oh my gosh. The glow up of the snail crew. I wish to resume my travels, but I leave the realm much wiser. All citizens must report into my council of advisors. You see this? See this rule? It's so funny. I trust my council to maintain the balance while I take an indefinite leave of absence. The concept is that you just employ people to do the work for you and you go vacation. That's fantastic. Okay. I'm not going to go too far there because I'm getting pretty close to the page 51. Let's not go there. But yeah, that's the game, right? Am I crazy? That's the game. So if we are to kind of collect ourselves, because this is unlike most games I've seen in tabletop RPGs. I mean, like, there's a couple of similarities to some things I've covered, but I'm really getting very strong, like, board game energy. It does feel like it gives me shades of like civilization games. It gives me like shades of Risk. And I think what's interesting about this is that it's kind of... So let me show you here. Let me get there. Right here, right? So these are basically ways to set up the story in unpredictable ways. There are various prompts in each of these piles that will change faction, will change site storylines. So obviously this one will tell you about the current settlement's problems. These are rumors, these are preparations, these are revolts. So it's like an arc to every settlement, and the odds of you ever experiencing the same settlement in the same way more than once is very, very low. 13 times 13 times 13 times 13, I believe, are the odds for all of these different prompts, which is really neat to kind of create an organic improvised story. I can see the fun in it being that once these places are established, and once enough of them are established, at least 8, I believe, depending on the number of players you have, you can start kind of interconnecting them and building out this wider world as these settlements are formed. And you can be like, oh, this one's in proximity to one that already exists. Are these problems linked in any way? Are there stories like combined somehow? I gotta say, I don't fully understand the point system. I know that there are, like, let me show you here. Like, I know that cards have points, right? These are points. Support value. So I imagine some of these cards will be high, some will be low. I understand some will be negative. It's probably like rumors or preparation. You'll have to make some unpopular decisions to get the revolt moving, and that'll probably reduce your support. Now, I will say, this game doesn't feel, and try to understand. I'm trying to articulate this in the best way. It doesn't really sound like a criticism. It's just an observation. This game does not read like a competition, right? So cards that you collect will have different point values. And there's no real way to influence how many points you get. It's like you draw a card, you get the points, you play out the prompts on the card, right? So after everyone draws their cards, there's an obvious, clear winner. So I think it would be kind of neat, and maybe this is just me asking for a different game, but it would be kind of neat if you could overtake an existing settlement, I guess. And like claim somebody's points for your own by winning over a specific site. That sounds like a different game, right? That's more risk type play, where you would be in active competition with each other. But this feels more like the building blocks to write a story of political intrigue. I see the appeal for sure. I see that this is a very, very, very quick way to set up an entire world. Like, let's be real. This is setting up 8 different communities, 8 to 9 different communities on a map that did not exist 3 hours ago, right? Entirely unique situations and ways that you influence them and change them and affect their people. And this is something that is honestly really hard for people to do on the fly. I could see this as just a wonderful resource to getting the ball moving at saying this settlement has a problem, let's fix it, right? In terms of the point system, it doesn't seem like that can be modified in any way once your cards have been drawn. It feels like there's kind of I don't want to say they're not being interactive, because obviously interactive is kind of it's self-asserted. I'm lacking the correct word, but like if you want to interact with another player's settlements, you absolutely can. Mechanically, there's no real way to like steal points. I don't want to phrase it like that, but there's no way to like claim someone else's points for your own, which I think would make this game a little more interesting to me as someone who's like actively very competitive. I just kind of understand that this game is not the competitive types. But the game's strengths obviously are rapid world building, fantastic art and guidelines to fleshing out a world with very well-established political motivations, and how that can turn, how there's good and bad sides to that. Actively, these prompts very much remind me of For the Queen, but I'm sure there are other games mentioned up top that exemplify this as well. The game's cards and campaign cards are very proactive in setting the scene and getting you talking about this world that didn't yet exist and filling it in with details that you have. It's very cool to have to kind of represent a whole faction of people. You're not tied to a singular character. And sometimes I admittedly kind of roll my eyes at stories about the famous few that are like 4 or 5 adventurers change the entire world. I've seen it, I've done it, I've played it. I like this idea that it's kind of like a conglomerate. It's kind of an alliance of people, a union of people, of like-minded individuals who work towards the same goal and have many faces and many roles and can achieve many things based on different personalities. I love that. I don't think there's many games at all in this world that handle it like this one does, which is really neat. So, that said, that's a great question in chat. Yosemite Mike says it's not competitive, but if that's the point, why is there a winner at the end? The winner is mostly to set up a story beat, right? The winner is not necessarily awarded because you've beaten everybody else. It's not really about that, right? The goal of this game is to establish a world and play it out within the span of a single session, which is 3 to 4 hours. This crown the winner is basically their natural conclusion to the game. After everybody's drawn their settlement and after everybody's set up exactly how they're going to convince the settlement to revolt against the monarchy, crowning the winner is basically how they end the game. Otherwise, it would continue on forever. You could just keep drawing over and over again until you run out of cards in the campaign deck, which is a little less climactic, right? So these cards you can see here are basically saying this is the result of your roles. How do you want to conclude this world that you built, this community that you've continued to write for? How does their story end or continue, right? So the crowning is basically saying, what site do you choose to host the coronation of your new monarch, which is really cool because you get to reflect on all those settlements that you build. And you flip over your card and begin to establish your new kingdom. The threat says, how does your faction openly express opposition to the new decree? So this is where you, it says, which site does your monarchy target as a warning to your supporters? So you guys are really being reflective, and kind of taking a retrospective view of the world that you've built and saying, hey, which of these settlements is the most interesting, the most able to be influenced, or the most foundational cornerstone to the story I'm trying to tell, right? So these questions basically say, hey, if we wanted to, how could this story continue? And the cool thing about this game is it gives you the opportunity to continue the story. If you're not satisfied with the way it ended, if you're not satisfied with the point distribution or how many, or you not claiming the throne, in legacy mode, you could continue. You could basically say, I want to keep playing. I want to keep seeing how these places flesh out. You could revisit places, right? And I guess that's where it comes from, right? Yosemite Mike, that's where the competitive side arrives. In legacy mode, you can come back, right? You can draw a card of a previous establishment and visit that and then revolt and claim it for yourself. And these places in these locations continue to build upon the history of your influence and the previous faction's influence. So it's an incredibly rapid way of establishing history, which is really neat. I think the more I think about it, the more I really like this game as kind of its own standalone concept of, I want to build a world. I want to very quickly not only establish a settlement, but also my influence upon it, as well as setting up the groundwork for continuing this history and understanding how this community continues to change over time. Very streamlined, very fluid. So my previous comment about like not understanding the points or like not feeling like I could steal away the points, I'm realizing it's available in legacy mode. The ability to claim a community for yourself through a repeated play, kind of neat. Really novel. I dig it. I'm not going to continue any further in this game. I'm pretty sure I nailed most of it. For what it's worth, this is a really quick read. This is really straightforward. And for games like this, I guess you don't need too many rules. The meat and potatoes is in here, right? You can't see my cursor, but it's over on the campaign deck. So everything that I'm not showing you in this game, what I'm keeping kind of hidden away, is for you to explore as you play. This is the meat and potatoes. These are the settlements and their problems and how they're actually being helped and led to revolt against the monarchy. All of this is just set up for that. It's very clean setup. So kudos to that. Kudos to the team. Yeah, this ended up being a shorter stream than I expected, but that's it, right? That's the game. So in summary, Revolt, as it says, is a fantasy tabletop role-playing game, but don't let that mislead you. This game is not about battling goblins and saving the world. This is a game about political intrigue. It's a game about understanding that the monarchy that is currently in place is not to your liking. And you have your own ideals, you have your own goals, and you have your own faction that you lead as a player. And you go around the world of Lektok, teaching communities about your goals and rallying them toward your side. And eventually, by the end of this game, one of the players and their faction will take the throne. I just sneezed. Take the throne for themselves. Beautifully illustrated, beautifully laid out, very clear markers on the bookmarks on the side, as well as a bunch of hyperlinks all over this book. Such a clean read. I did love this one. Beauty and brevity, as they say. So straightforward. I really loved it. So again, you can find this game on itch.io. Let me just pump that onto the screen one more time. So you guys know where to find it. Game page right here. It is alwayscheckers.itch.io/revolt. If you want to see more of Jason Price's work, you can find it here. They're also behind Notorious and Outside. I see this on the front page of itch.io every single day. A bunch of really cool things you could find here. And with that said, that's the end of the stream. Thank you guys for tuning in. Next week is going to be May You Fish in Interesting Times, which is the game that has been awarded by Indie Groundbreaker Awards as Best Art. So definitely a visual feast for all of us. Thank you for tuning in. Have a wonderful night and a wonderful week. I'll see you later. Happy 80th game of the 99 More. How exciting. Bye-bye.